Okay, we're back live again with the Just L show with King Jacob. And my co-host absent Queen Unique had some things going on, but she gives her love and her but she just wanted me to salute y'all, and she'll be networking with y'all as well. So you know, and so tonight's topic, man, it's a hard topic for a lot of people, and I don't know why it's so hard, but I can tell you this that the toxic environment can set you back for a whole lifetime. And so we're just gonna get into the first question and how we'll go around the room. After I ask the question, we'll start with you, Queen Allen, and then you, King Jones, and then you, Queen Xena, and we'll start with you, Superstar, and then you, Superstar, Queen DeDe Sha-Ron. So um, I think other guests just popped in.
Hi guys. Hi
Hi,
everyone.
how you doing?
How are
Hey,
you?
Queen, how are you?
I'm doing well. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I had to do a code generator and all these shenanigans.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. So we're talking about these toxic relationships that people go through in life that stagnate their process. So um, the first question would be, and why is it so difficult for people to get out of the toxic relationship? And when they get out, why do they feel like it's disloyal for them to leave one that they've been dealing with, whether it's family, whether it's business, whether it's friends, just whoever it might be. And so we gonna go around the circle, and so we'll start with you first, Queen Allen. So why do you think that is?
Okay, well, me personally, I think the reason why it's hard to get toxic relationship because it feels bit flesh. So you know, uh, I was in an abusive relationship for years, and I accept the abuse, but I, the sex really what was, really keeping me there. Felt good to my flesh, so I just accept anything. So that's the reason why I feel like, it's kind of hard for people to get out of toxic soul, ties. Yep.
Okay,
And what was the other
King
question?
Jones. The other,
Go. Okay. I mean, well, I would say from experience, a lot of times self-esteem issues, and then at the same time, the need to kind of. Sometimes, I hate to use this terminology, but I don't know if you ever heard of the terminology of Captain Save-A-Ho, when sometimes you feel like the need to try to save somebody from themselves or what they going through. And I've been in those relationships before where I felt like the need to try to save a person from themselves, whether it was going through a personal stuff or they had addiction or they had just whatever it was. I felt like I could be the one to come in and try to help them change their situation by treating them right. You know what I mean? Because I've always been raised to especially treat a woman a certain way. And they used to be dealing with bad boys or dealing with people that in toxic relationships, and I tried to be the opposite from that. And they didn't look at it, they didn't appreciate it, and I got sucked into their world instead of them being sucked into my world.
mm, okay. So after everybody get a chance to speak their piece, we're gonna come back around the room and talk about the difficult part of leaving that toxic relationship. So NYC, what's going on?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, NYC, you the
Okay,
only
I
one
thought
from,
you were going that way.
yeah,
Hi
you the only
guys.
one you the only one from New York on here, so yeah,
Okay,
that's you,
okay.
NYC.
I can dig it. I mean, there's so much to say on this topic. I think what they've already mentioned so far is absolutely true. There's so many elements to it, right? We get sucked into their world. You'll also get guilted out of, getting flushing people out of your life. People try to guilt me all the time when I'll tell them specifically, like, you did this or you behaved this way and it's not in tune with my vibrations and I have to get you out of my life because you're negative and that doesn't work for me. People will try to guilt you into staying around them and make you feel like you're the bad person or like you're better than them, when in all actuality, you don't want any part of the drama. If you're really about peace in your life, you'll learn how to get rid of that toxicity. But there's so many different elements that toxic people will use. They're often narcissists, right? So they know how to be manipulative. Sex is absolutely one of those manipulative portions, like you mentioned, Alan. So it's like, it goes so deep.
Okay. Okay, Queen Portia.
I was just gonna say, especially when I don't know, the term toxic has become such a, a play-by-play used by people. And then I think that toxicity is what we are shown. So a lot of people stay in toxic relationships because they don't understand that it's toxic. And it's like, until you've been in something, it took me 10 years to realize that something was toxic because, like you said, you have sex that clouds your judgment. You have, and then there's their idea that that's what love looks like. That's what love is sold to us, especially for people of color. We watch toxicity and we make them our goals, like, so we think that that's love. We think that somebody telling us what we can and cannot wear or keeping us inside the house, we're told, through the media that that's love. So it takes years, like the good sis says, to really look for internal peace to where you're like, hey, this is toxic to me. And a lot of people think that toxic has a face or an actual definition, but toxic to you and toxic to me are going to be two very different things. And people grow into being toxic and people grow out of wanting to deal with toxicity. There's a lot of girls who, they think smashing windows and slashing tires and throwing drinks and fighting, and they think that thing is okay because they've been watching the Bad Girls Club and the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and they've just been sold this love and basketball type of life. It's the same way that they feel like love is in these material things, and it's not. And so until they get to an age where they have a definition of love and they have a definition of toxicity, they don't even know they're in a toxic relationship. So it's hard to get out of something, that the world is telling you you're not a ride or die chick if you can't let your man cheat on you a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? Or so it's just defined as what we consider love, and it's really not. It's really just damaged goods dating damaged goods.
Ooh, she took us to church, honey. Yes, Portia.
Amen.
Yes, she summed it all up and served it. You understand? Everything you just said.
Amen.
I know that's right. So we definitely appreciate it. Now, Queen DeDe, upstate New York, by the way of Charlotte, North Carolina, I know you dropped them jewels because I listen to your music, so I know you dropped jewels. So we gonna let you chime in and see what are your thoughts on this topic.
Okay, sure. First, thank you for having me. But a lot of times people think a toxic relationship is physical. It could be emotional, it could be verbal, it can be mind games and everything of that nature. And in my personal opinion, I believe that a lot of people stay in that situation, as it was said earlier, because you try to fix that person. And not only that, but you see the good in that person and you try to carry the relationship based upon what you see that is good in them, and kind of ignore the red flags of them being toxic and how their energy changes your energy. And now you're at a standstill with stamina and moving forward to where you're supposed to be in life. But I would say, it's hard to get out of a toxic relationship because people probably become dependent on that other person. You know what I mean? As trying to feed their need to want to make things right. You know what I mean? Or feeling like they're fixing something that's broken. And just we can't fix everybody. Matter of fact, we can't fix anybody. It's not up to us to fix other people's energy. They have to want to change. And a lot of times, some toxic people don't even know why they're toxic or that they are toxic, but they've been hurt in their past and they have issues that they really strongly need to address before they try to bring other people into their world. And everybody has issues. We all may be toxic in some way.
Just baby.
Mic drops
Yes.
all day, right? Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you. Yes. So, once we are out of those toxic relationships, how do we address the issues that we have had in those toxic relationships, and how do we fix the way that we became toxic and how that changed our character? So, how do we address ourselves after we leave that relationship? Because you have to go through self-development and self-healing to move forward to another level.
Mm-hmm. I would say by not starting to put blame on the other person. What part did you play in or part in that allowed the toxicity to continue in your life? Why did you not leave? Why did you not pay attention to the red flags or the red signs? What did you do to allow to go on what went on in your life in that relationship? So it's not always the other person.
Right.
I completely agree with DeDe. You have to have a level of accountability and take it away from victimizing yourself and now saying, okay, what's wrong with me that I'm accepting this level of love?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes going back to your childhood, going back to experiences you've had that have molded you as an adult and you didn't even realize. Like Portia was saying, what we see, if you grew up in a really dysfunctional type of household, you don't really have an idea of what good healthy relationships look like. And it's not always these intimate relationships either. Sometimes it's friendships, sometimes it's interpersonal relationships, but we really need to step back and look at ourselves. And I think the main key is really just time, taking time away from people and taking time to develop yourself and learn what your issues are so that you can not continue to attract that sort of energy your way.
I love that. Love it.
All right. Next.
Is that me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I agree with what both these queens said. It really just does take self accountability, self reflection, and time. Because if you're in I think the old adage was, if you're in a relationship for a year, it's going to take 6 months to get back to square one. And so for every year that you've been in a relationship, you need to take 6 months to getting back to yourself. And people don't understand that relationship with self is one of the things that a lot of people just do not have. They do not understand the things that make them happy. They don't have hobbies. Like literally their entire life has been wrapped up into somebody else making them happy or them making somebody else happy. And that goes with your kids. A lot of women are getting burnt out because their whole relationship with their kids is what can I put into them, and they're not getting anything out. And people are not looking at relationships as if they're transactional, like they're ATMs. You got to put something in the ATM to get something out. And so I think that if people would sit down and get to know themselves, and sometimes, you lose yourself in a toxic relationship. So you have to relearn yourself. Oh, these are the things that I used to like. I used to love to write. I used to love to read. I used to love to take long baths. And then if you've been in a relationship and you're very young and you never had the chance to figure out those things, just figuring out those things can take a lot of time. And I think once people get into self and they start learning themselves, then they can make themselves happy and they can really focus on, the kinds of things that they need to be a whole person in the next relationship. But a lot of people, as soon as they get out of a toxic relationship, they're trying to get back into another one. And then they wonder why, it's just years and years and years of toxicity. It's because you never stopped to get back to yourself before you went to something else.
Right.
I think I
Okay,
answered
Queen.
it, I'm not sure.
Okay, Queen Allen.
There has to come a point in your life where you look yourself in the mirror and realize that you deserve more. You deserve better than how you're being treated. You deserve better than how you being talked to. And like the other queens say, is not all about the other person. It's about what you allow in your life too. So it really goes both ways. And you can't point the blame on either one, because being in a toxic relationship, yes, it takes a minute to get yourself back together, but you gotta, it has to come, you have to it has to come a point in your life where you got to take your life serious. And if somebody not going to take your life serious, what makes you think they gonna take your life serious if you're not taking your life serious? So you got to look in the mirror at yourself and know your worth.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Now, King Jones. Listen, man.
Hmm?
These queens dropping these jewels, man. They
I'm listening. I'm listening.
yeah,
Uh,
man. They
I
giving the
mean,
men some blueprints.
yeah.
This this is a blueprint, man.
Yeah. I mean, basically, what I would say is the first and foremost, as a man, you got to have confidence in yourself. I remember a female told me one time, I was dealing with this female for a long time, for like 10 years. And I remember seeing her after, we met up for dinner, and she just came out. She told me, she said, if you would have showed me this confidence 10 years ago, we would be together now. And I'm like, what you mean? And I'm like, I'm who I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't feel like I've changed anything other than the fact that I don't tolerate bullshit no more. But other than that, I'm the same person. But at the end
Hmm.
of the day, I had to realize for me, because I know with women are attracted to confidence too. So I'm like, whatever I'm doing different now than I was doing then, maybe that is because, yes, I'm making more money and I'm more successful, and think certain things have changed in my life. So maybe it automatically came out when those things changed in my life. So at the same time, you have to have your life together if you want to be a asset to somebody else. Because if your life is all screwed up, then you bringing your mess to somebody else, both of y'all life gonna be screwed up. So at the end of the day, that's why I tell a lot of people, I tell young people, get your life together first before you start trying to take on somebody else's life too. Because if you having problems, you just bringing your problems to their problems, and then I can do bad all by myself. I don't need you to do bad. You know what I'm saying, with me. So if I come to the table, or if any man comes, especially with
Oh man.
a man comes to the table, you know what I'm saying, he should have at least a place to stay, you know, already in his career. You got to have the biggest house, the biggest car, but you got to have some kind of stability so that woman to feel confident when she come in your world and want to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. It's always funny to me is when I see, I travel all over the country, whatever, and I always when I see a man and a woman walking down the street, and I'm like, how's that relationship really going? And both of you walking. You know what I'm saying? Neither one of you got a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is y'all life about when neither one of you got anything going on where you got to be walking? You know what I'm saying? And that's just me just thinking outside the box in my mind. But I just really want to know, how is that relationship really going if I had a chance to talk to them. But that's what I would have to say about toxic relationships in that regard.
You know what? I'm gonna say this right here, and I'm gonna say, let the church say amen. Who
Amen.
got the who got the communion wine out there?
Listen,
Cause
Right
yeah,
here. Right here.
yeah. So
Seriously. Let me
okay.
tell you
so
something. That was so on point what you said,
Hey,
because first of all, with the jumping from relationship to relationship, people escape the reality of who they are by disappearing in somebody else, right? And
right.
like we talked about that codependency, you become dependent on other people, and like you don't know who you are, like Portia said. So you're lost in the sauce. You have to redefine who you are, the things that you enjoy. And people are just so busy chasing after things that they want and they desire, rather than making sure that they're self-fulfilled, so they're not looking for their happiness in other people. And like, Mr. Jones was saying, when you have the confidence as a man or as a woman, because you know what you're bringing to the table, you don't feel like insecure, you know what I mean, in the approach. And so it really just changes the game. It's really important to develop yourself and know who you are.
Yes, and I like to say this right here. Um, I meet a lot of women from the entertainment business, from just networking, and I ask females this all the time. Do you truly have a spiritual identity? You can have a physical identity, you can have an emotional identity, you can have a mental identity, but what is your spiritual identity?
I love that.
And so therefore, if you have no spiritual identity, what are we going to talk about if you have no spiritual energy, if you haven't awakening, from the gifts that God give you with the spiritual power? Because I want somebody who I can build up, she can build me up, and we can build as one. And so, to me, for a person who's been in that toxic relationship for the last 15, 20 years, when they go elsewhere and try to seek a relationship, and they don't understand the process of healing, they don't understand that there's development in healing. Healing helps you develop your mental aspect again, your emotional, your spiritual, and it helps you develop the person that you should be, not who you once was. And so, I just want to say, I'm definitely attracted to that spiritual identity for sure. As a man, I need that spiritual identity in a woman.
Yeah, I need that in any relationship in my life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's so important that anybody that I'm even being associates with, working with, I'm blessed in the fact that I have my own business, so I can choose my clientele. But I've worked with toxic people. I've worked with narcissists, and I'm like, this is not the life. I've worked with micromanagers. I'm like, I didn't deal with this in the corporate world. I'm damn sure not going to deal with it with my own business. You could have your money back. Okay. I don't even want the contract, because we can't control other people. I don't know who it was that said we can't fix other people. You're absolutely right. Nor should you try to, because you will exhaust yourself. So when you stop trying to fix other people and you know what you will and won't tolerate, just move accordingly. And you don't have to feel bad because other people don't accept the fact that you want to get away from them, because they're not good for you. They have to have that spiritual identity. You know what I mean? You have to be in sync.
Yeah.
What can I say this?
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to kind of piggyback on that spiritual identity portion of that. That's very important that both man and female have the spiritual identity, because if you don't have that, then you're out of tune with your purpose, you're out of tune with your goals, you're out of tune with God, the universe, your angels that protect you and that guide you. So a lot of times we may have to step back and realize, like, okay, is this person sent in my path to stop me from moving forward to where I'm supposed to be? So we have to examine that whole situation as well. Like, who sent you? I mean, sometimes you may really have to ask the person that who and what sent you to stop me. What put you in my path? So yeah,
I think
that part.
That's like really sublime information there, and I think too, being spiritually connected in the way that you're talking about, it keeps those things from happening. It's very hard to be an infidel. It's very hard to commit infidelity if you know that the universe is going to put that back on your plate. It's much more difficult to be a terrible person if you understand that the universe is going to give you everything that you are giving out. And then it might not hit you, but it's going to hit somebody close to you, and you're going to watch those people suffer at your hands. And so when you have an understanding of your spiritual connection, you got to make a real strong play. It's got to be something really, really special for you to step out of line. And most of the time, you're gonna find that that's not the case. And so a lot of people think that me being thinner, me having longer hair, me changing my eye color, me snatching my waist is what's going to keep a man faithful. But if you pray with that man, whenever he out, and because temptation is everywhere. Same thing for women. I think women actually have more temptation than men, and men don't give us credit that we're able to Heisman that a lot better than they are. Like, and I'm not trying to make it a competition, but men use the idea of temptation for infidelity as if women are not constantly tempted every day. But when you sit down and you put your forehead on your man's forehead and y'all pray and y'all have goals together and it's really hard for him to, like, God, whoever you believe in, the Most High will put blinders on you so that all you can see is your mate. All you can think about is your mate. And you guys have such a spiritual connection that it goes past, what we call husband and wife or girlfriend and boyfriend. It's like that's somebody that's helping me get to the next level in my life. So even if y'all don't work out in the end, you have a special place in your heart for that person because you're spiritually connected. And people think because they're not spiritually connected with their own universe, that somehow is gonna, if I don't see the universe doesn't see me. But that's not the way that it works. Even if you yourself are not paying attention to the universe is still doing its job. And so you're still reaping your karmatic responses. You're still, you're still getting everything. So if you don't listen to the universe is going to get really, really loud, and you're going to have to listen. And so that's when, people feel like they found their soulmates. But like soul ties, people are out there, they're giving their soul tying themselves to people that they only spent a night with, that they don't know their last name.
Wow.
They couldn't tell you, if they can eat seafood or if they like chicken wings. Like you can't tell me that person's real name, but you have given a piece of your soul to them. Right. And people think that that's a game, and they hear it, and it's done got written off as some like hotepery, or people write it off, but the universe cannot be written off. The Most High, or whoever you believe in, that person that's guiding your life cannot be written off. You can't turn them on and turn them off. It just doesn't happen that way. It's bigger than you.
Wow, this is
another
like
mic drop.
Listen, this is a love Jones section. This is man.
But people think you're crazy when you talk like that, for real. Like I know y'all have experienced when you talk like that. People be like, okay, and it's just like you don't see that. Like you don't feel it. Like when you do wrong, you don't see it when you reap the benefits. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they can see that with a job. If I go work early and I stay late, I'll get a promotion. It's the same thing. You're sowing seeds, and those seeds are going to eventually grow into something. And why would you grow a shit tree?
But people are so conditioned, right?
Yeah.
They're so conditioned to not having to have accountability. They're conditioned to what we see, like we were talking about, media, everything, the portrayal, of toxicity at its best. And this is what they see and they follow. It's funny that you were talking about karma, because just earlier I said this to a man on Facebook. It was insane because a man asked, what do women go through silently that men never know about? So women were just going on from cramps to everything. You know what I'm saying? And here he comes just going in on women not being loyal and all of this. Like it had nothing to even do with what we were discussing. And when I told him that he was being toxic and attacking women, he went on about cheating and how men are going to cheat. They're going to cheat all the time, if they want to. Even men came behind him like, bro, not necessarily. If you have discipline and if you have godliness, if you have spirituality, because he was like, they're going to cheat. I've been in a 12-year relationship and I cheated the whole time. If I saw something, I wanted it. And I said, what's really sad is that you come here and you have no conscience about dropping that. The fact that you can toy with someone's emotion, I really feel bad for you with your karma. And it probably won't come to you. It'll come to like your daughter or another young woman that you love who remains in that kind of relationship and keeps forgiving the man that does that to her over and over. And it's going to break your heart. because you think it's a game to play with someone's emotions. And it's just really sad how dismissive it is. It's okay to be toxic, to be a narcissist, to, you know, be a playboy, to, you know, have a hot girl summer, to participate in behavior, to everybody look alike. You know, black girls look like Nicki Minaj, Spanish girls look like Cardi B, white girls look like Kim Kardashian. It's like we're living in the fucking Twilight Zone. Excuse my language.
And
Well,
I just want to announce that Queen DeDe is not feeling well. She told me earlier today she will come on for a little while, and she said she's not feeling well. So we do thank her for coming on, and she had a great input on the discussion.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
shout out
Yes.
to her. Yes.
Thank
So
you, DeDe.
Feel better, Queen DeDe.
Please.
feel better. Praying for you. But
so
I
go
would
ahead.
say, I
Go
would say, what y'all were talking about spiritually is discernment. Meaning, basically, you spiritually, you know when a person is right, when a person is wrong in your life or whatever. I always feel like whether they right or wrong, God placed them in my life for a reason because He wanted me to see something or wanted me to, you know, it was a process that I had to go through to get to a certain point. I've been through a lot in my life, so I take the good and the bad all the same, and I know it helped me grow to where I'm at now or whatever. I would just say from that standpoint of I think like from a spirit, even like this where we at right now, I've been podcasting on and off for years, and I got back into this a couple of months ago, and it's been hard to find people of minded people that's going to take this seriously and be consistent with it and all of that. So I even think with this process we going through now, God brought us together because I just, this brother was on last night and was like, "Who wants to come on?" And I immediately hit and said, I want in." You know what I mean, or whatever. And he brought me in. He could have picked anybody on there that probably, asked to be on here, and he chose me. So I feel that as a privilege for him to even ask me to do that. So I feel like in this conversation I'm hearing right now, let me know I'm with intelligent-minded people. Have I made my mistakes in relationships and stuff over the years? I'm the first one to tell you yes, because I wasn't in a spiritual place that I needed to be. You know what I mean? And now that I'm spiritually more connected with God than I've ever been, I appreciate relationships all the way around me or whatever. Now, I've always done right by people for the most part, but I have my mistakes that I've made along the way. And I'll never be the one to say, "Oh, I never done this and never done that." Everything in a relationship you could possibly think about, I've done it, other than put my hands on a woman. That's one thing I never would do. But every other thing you could think about, I've done in a relationship, I've done it. You know what I'm saying? And so I know how it is on both sides to be hurt and to hurt somebody. You know what I'm saying? But when you hurt somebody, you have to understand how to correct it. It's like when you ask God for forgiveness for something, you hope that you won't never do that whatever you did again. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta continually grow. You know what I'm saying, as your life goes on, and then hopefully that you can correct the bad behavior or things that you brought to a situation, that you can remove that so you can help get to another level. And I know God, the fact that when I started removing things that I know that I was doing wrong, I've seen God bless me more over the last couple of years than He ever done. Like I one of the people that I felt like I was more blessed in every way through the pandemic when everybody else was complaining about it. I've been blessed. You know what I'm saying? So, and so that's all I really have to say about on that regard.
Okay. Well, I think everybody had some really, really great input, and everybody dropped those jewels. Like they say, when you start dealing with people that drop jewels to elevate your mind and to really get you to the next level and to look at things that you haven't looked at in that particular way, those are the people you got to conduct yourself with. And so we're gonna move on to the next question, and the next question is, how do you address toxic family members?
Mm.
Can I start?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Queen.
Because I have so many of them.
Go ahead,
So my toxic family members actually start with my immediate, which are my biological mother and my biological brother, who are both like extremely toxic, have some mental illness. And I've always attempted to have a relationship from the time that I was a child, teenage, as an adult. and it's always been counterproductive. There was always a pushback, always negativity that would make me feel bad, conditioning from when I was a child on, taking away any sort of experience that I had and either diminishing it, demeaning it, or, just tearing it down, basically. So I had to completely cut that out my life. And I think that people really do not understand how necessary it is, no matter who the person is in your life, to remove it. And whether you're removing it for good or you're just putting it on pause in order for you to have your development until you're able to deal with that person, you have to recognize the level of toxicity that someone brings to your life. And I think too often we hear life is too short, and life is short. Make your peace with that person and be done with the situation. Because when you're not done and your spirit isn't at peace, and we've been talking so much about, how necessary it is to have that peace and to have that inner spirituality, you can't make your brother, your sister, your uncle, your cousin, you can't make them be in tune with you. And sometimes it's necessary to completely cut that out your life.
Okay. Queen Portia.
That was, I think that was really dope what she said, and similar to that, like I dealt with narcissistic abuse, and really the only way to get rid of narcissistic abuse was to just cut it, like she said. But sometimes, we know that that's easier said than done, because if the toxic person is like your mother, or your sister or whatever, or yourself, you can't cut yourself. So I think that a lot of people are not willing to admit that they have toxic traits. And so if you're a person, because I can admit that I have toxic temperament, is what I like to call it, is I stand too firmly on my principles sometimes. Like I'm a person that has a hard time letting wrong go, because I know how important it is. And so in the process of me working on myself, I get very offended by people who are just completely oblivious to their shortcomings. And sometimes that turns into me, trying to psychoanalyze them and getting very upset, which is a toxic trait of putting too much energy into somebody else's mental health while actively trying to work on my own. And so it's very draining. I'm also an Aries, and I don't like to use the zodiac, but we are a fire sign for a reason. And so whenever I'm very passionate about something and you're very nonchalant about something that I think is going to, like for my daughter, things that you say to my daughter or things that you do to my daughter, like giving her the idea that long hair is better when she has short hair. Long hair is fine, but you shouldn't, give a child a ultimatum in that such. If her hair is short, if it's in an afro, then that's the best hairstyle in the world for her. And
Right.
we always teach this competition, this competitiveness. And I realize how detrimental, because I am a woman in the industry that you told, like you say, and I find it to be very detrimental to my confidence that I have to go into a room full of beautiful women and compete with them when we could all just be beautiful women in the same room with no competition like we should. And I find that it's hard because I go into it now. I name my company Constant Kudos because I don't like to push negativity. I'm not going to be in competition with you, sis, but
That's
I'm
right.
going to do my thing. And see, a lot of women create competition with people that they could never compete with. And then it crushes their spirit. And they did it to themselves, and they want to blame it on that girl or that other person that they let diminish them. But if you would have just been friends with that girl, then your natural strengths could have played up against her natural weaknesses, and you guys could have been an unstoppable team. But it doesn't happen that way. And it's not necessarily just the psyche of women that create this. It's the industry in total. There could be 10,000 male rappers, but there can only be one queen bee, So it's like, I feel like people are toxic and it's hard to walk away from them. So whenever you decide that you can't walk away from this person, you are actively deciding to somewhat be a glutton for punishment. So what you have to do in that sense is educate yourself beyond reason, so that, like with narcissism, I had to learn what gaslighting was. And once I learned what gaslighting was, I was like, oh my God, I've been feeling crazy this whole time. And this is a thing. It's got a real word, you can feel it. It's tangible now. And so if you educate yourself and you interest yourself, not only will you learn how to identify when their mental illness is kicking in or when their toxicity is kicking in, you will have a lot more options of coping with it. And sometimes just blocking a person and not talking to them for a week or two and letting them dwell in whatever it is they got going on by themselves, you'll notice a complete change in that person. Just setting boundaries, simple boundaries, like, I just don't want you to talk to me like that. That will change the entire relationship. You know, figuring out your strength and your armor against somebody's toxicity can really help you keep that person around. Because like my child's father, I would say, is a classic narcissist. But when I was 20 years old, I didn't know that. And now that I have a child with him, his narcissism doesn't affect her as much as it affects our relationship. So I don't necessarily want to cut him out of my life, but I'm definitely going to teach my child these things so that she can be aware of red flags so that it does not damage her when it does start to happen in their relationship. Because
right, but
it starts as controlling.
But let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't your child's father, wouldn't you have cut him out your life?
Yes, gladly so. And that's what I'm saying. You are absolutely right. The ultimate answer to the question is what you said: cut them off.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, once you like, if my mom has issues, I don't want to necessarily cut her off, But it's the same way if your mom has Alzheimer's or something like that. It's a disease that's attacking her brain. You don't want to cut her off, but you also don't want her throwing things at you and cursing at you. And, you don't want to, but once you can understand how Alzheimer's affects that person, and you, the person of sane mind and body at that time, can say, hey, that's my mom, but it's not her right now. And they can stop internalizing that abuse, a lot more. You're still getting punished. You're still going to get punished. But that's why I say at the beginning, you have to mentally go in saying, okay, I'm making an active decision to keep this toxic person around. I know that that's going to cause me some harm. So I have to do the things that keep me happy. And I have to remind myself, okay, this is this person's problem. I shouldn't internalize it. But
right, at the same time, some people you just have to deal with, right? You can't necessarily cut them out, whether it be your boss, people that you work with, people that you go to school with, people that you go to church with.
A toxic boss is one of the worst things, I feel, because you really feel tethered to that person. You really do. Like, you can't just quit your job. And that person, your boss, will become more tethered to you than your mate. Like, you'll see your boss more than you see your mate sometimes. Like, I'll be working. And so, like, you will see your boss more than you see your mate. You'll spend more intimate time with your boss than you will your mate. And your boss can really dictate how you go home and treat your mate, because they are giving you toxic vibes and you have no outlet for that, because you can't talk to your boss crazy unless you want to lose your job, which, if y'all are out there listening, lose the damn job. At the end of the day, your mental health is way more important than any job, because jobs are meant to be had. There's something that people are giving out. They're not favors that we're getting, and they're trying to spin it like that. But jobs are everywhere. Your mental health is not. And so that's my PSA for the moment. Let the job go. But sometimes we feel like I can't do that. Okay. Let
all
the
of those snaps.
Okay. Well, I'm on my way out of a really good corporate job because mentally it's too much. I can see too much nepotism. I can see too much favoritism. I can just see a lot of racism. I can see a lot of isms, and
all the isms.
Yeah, all of them. The sexism, the ageism, all of them.
All of them.
And so I can't, being as though somebody that can feel that. Like, it's not even a thing. People ask, how do you know something is racist? It's not even something that you can see it's a feeling. It's like the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and you just feel like, oh, okay, that's how we doing today.
Oh, and you walk into a room full of racists, you can feel it, right? It's like pulsating.
It's dripping off of them. It's an aura. People talk about reading auras, and I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like I can, see dead people, but I can. You can definitely feel a person's energy.
Yes, when you're spiritually in tune, you're always right there feeling energy. I work off of energy and vibes. That's the whole fact.
Right. Well, let me. So we're gonna go ahead and let King Jones jump in, man. And man, hey King, listen, bro. Hey man, I appreciate you being on here with me, man, because I'm always on my and Queen Portia tell you, I'm always on my shows with a lot of beautiful women.
Yeah.
And the reason why, because when I inbox the brothers, when I email them, like, I don't know about that, Jacob, man. I don't know about that, bro. I said, why you don't know about it, man? Like, you speak your piece, they speak their piece, man, and we both learn something from one another. I don't know, bro. So I'll be like, all right. So I'm blessed to have a king on here with me, because Queen Portia tell you, listen, boy.
To be honest with you, I rather talk with women than men, because sometimes you talk to other men and you just get idiot conversations. And then,
Yeah,
what I'm saying, with a woman, you actually gonna get intelligent conversations. Like you said, you're gonna learn something. But I'm gonna just tell y'all kind of funny. It's kind of funny for me is because ever since I was a kid, like 6, 7 years old, I used to watch like the American Music Awards. And if I don't know if y'all remember back in the day when they used to have Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and Prince and all these people on there.
right.
And if you used to watch the awards, they used to come out in different outfits and different stuff or whatever. So you know how they say you play house? I used to play award show. So I would go in my room and change clothes and act like I'm coming out there receiving an award. Because ever since I was a kid, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the music industry. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something in the music industry. And my grandmother and my mother raised me. And they raised me to try to be the best man I can be growing up over the years. But at the end of the day, when I got 16, 17 and started feeling myself and knowing what I wanted, the only pushback I ever had against my grandmother, because I never disrespected my grandmother. But the only pushback I ever had was this: what I wanted with my life. I wanted to be in the music industry. So I knew that as a kid. So at the end of the day, I knew what my destiny was as a child. So I didn't let nobody, including my family, tell me what I couldn't do. In my world, I come from a small town in North Carolina. So most people in my world don't know. They know kind of what I'm pursuing, but they don't get it. They don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like if I would talk to y'all would understand the plight and the stuff we've been through and the struggles.
Yeah.
Most of the people don't understand the struggle I go through, and I don't got time to be explaining it to you. Because if you're not with me, if you're not trying to help me get to that next level, I don't got time to be pulling you behind me. You know what I'm saying? Like I tell people all the time now, I've been in this business since 97, like my brother Jacob since 97, on and off or whatever, going through every kind of struggle you're going to, been done dirty. I've managed artists who done shitted on me, who done me all kind of different kind of ways, then let people stay in my house, all kind of crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I tell people now, the boat is leaving. You know how that anchor come up? And the boat move off real slow? Well, at this point, if you ain't about to swim out there and jump on, you ain't about to get on. Because I'm only pulling people with me that I know that's like-minded, that's actually trying to help me get to where I'm trying to go and already there. You know what I'm saying? Because now it's my son and his art group that's moving forward. And I damn sure ain't letting them come and being a toxic person in his life. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I've been married over 20 years. And my wife told me, she said, you know what you and your brother went through, because I used to manage my brother and artist back in Florida. And my wife told me, she said, what you went through years ago with yourself and your brother, it wasn't for you. It was for you to learn for your son. So at the end of the day, I don't allow people to tell me what I can and can't do, especially family, because most of the time, I grew up with the old school type of family where when you get a job, you stay on that job for 30 years, whether it's a warehouse or whatever, get your pension, get your little house and your car, and that's it. Me, I knew I ain't trying to be there the rest of my life. That's why I went to the military for a few years. I'd have been to every state in this country, every single state, several times. So at the end of the day, I know my life is bigger than the four walls or the area space that I migrated in as a kid. So I tell anybody, don't allow nobody, including your family, to tell you what you can and can't do. Because a lot of times when people don't understand your dream and don't understand where you trying to go in life, they just say it's impossible. And I'm gonna tell you from a spiritual standpoint, I'm gonna let somebody else speak. From a spiritual standpoint, I learned this years ago. When you pray to God, I could pray to God and say, God, send me $20 for this, blah, blah, blah. That's small for God. But if I say, God, send me 20 million, send me 200,000, that's when you're really looking for a miracle. You know what I'm saying? Ain't a miracle for $20. It's a miracle when you ask God to send you something that ain't even in your realm of possibility that can even happen. You know what I'm saying? Somebody can walk up to you and give you $20. Anybody can walk up to you and give you $20,000, and you know if there's $20,000 coming to you, you know that's God. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at life.
Right. So glad you back, Queen Allen. We was just talking about the toxic family members and how do you address the toxic family members? Because most of us don't want to address the toxic family member, and the reason why, because they're our family member. We genuinely love them because we was taught to
Yeah.
love them no matter what, and so trying to address them is like between a rock and a hard place. And so, how would you address that toxic family member? Like, what are the levels that you would have to go through to even have the courage to tell them what you need to tell them?
Okay. How I'm gonna just give you an example of how I address toxic family. I don't know about how anybody else, but I have a sister, and like I heard one of the queens say, I can feel stuff. I can feel people. I go off people energy. I love my sister to death, but it's like every time I come around her, every time she's in my presence, it seems like a competitive thing. I ain't with that. And it just be certain things they say, certain you could tell, you can feel it, and one thing you're not gonna do in my presence is pretend like you like me. You cannot hide how you feel about me, no matter how you smile, how you put on that smile. Hey, girl. But anyways, I try to, keep it cordial. I try, but I was like, no, I can't continue to allow you into my space because you change me. You change how I feel. You change the atmosphere, and I cannot allow you to come in my space and just change everything. I can't. So what I do, or what I've done, and what I'm doing now is, I have to fall back. I have to fall back. Um, I don't answer. I love you to death. I can't even talk to you on the phone because I don't want that energy coming my way. Because
Girl, I understand every ounce of what you are saying.
like,
Your sister is my brother.
and then my other sister, we know about my other sister, and we talk amongst each other. And I was just telling her, I've tried for years. I've tried, to keep it cordial, and I just can't, because I'm at a point in my life where, like you said, if you're not helping get to my next level, if you're and you're fighting against me, and you're jealous on the low, and we just can't vibe together. We can't vibe in the same area together. I love you from over here. And trust me, if you ever need me, you got me. If you ever call me and say I need you to pull up, I'm coming. But we just can't vibe in the same environment. We
And
can't.
let's just let me chime in on this right here. You you just, oh my goodness. Listen, you just said that we can't vibe together. We can't chop it up.
Yeah.
You still gonna pull up on
Yeah.
at the site if she needs you. Of course you're gonna pull up. But
Yeah.
man, listen, that toxic family member
Yeah.
that people can't seem to get away from, boy, that's a man. Listen, that jealousy that you was talking about,
Yeah. Yeah.
that sideline hating, that slick talk,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
thing, that jealousy is more deadly than cancer.
Woo! And you can feel it. Like, why
Yeah.
we have to compete? I mean, I'm your sister. If I'm gonna get
Mm-hmm.
there, you gonna get there too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then,
So
like King was saying, family members don't understand your journey. They not gonna understand, the call that God has on your life, and and they're gonna project their fears and what they can't see off on you, and know you ain't. I know what God called me to do, and this is how exactly I'm gonna live my life, whether you like it or not, because I see what the end gonna be.
But see, what's
So,
still true.
go ahead,
What's
brother.
funny too? A lot of times is when you say family members, like me personally, I ain't got a point in my life where people that's like my friends, like really my friends, I call them family. And if I'm not really your friend, you more an associate. Because if you my friend and I got your family, then you probably know a lot of intimate stuff about me. You probably know my friends, my family and stuff like that. So at that point, you become family. So even people that's not even blood related or whatever, you can get attachment to them. And then when you bring them into what you're trying to do, they can become toxic. And then you start getting pulled into their world. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like, I got a friend, every time I talk to him, it's always negative. So when he called, I'll be like, do I feel like dealing with his stuff today?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I have to pick and choose when I allow you to get into my world, because like, okay, sometimes I pick up the phone to help you out with what you got going on or talk to you. But if I don't feel like the bullshit you coming with today, I ain't about to do it. I'm just like, nah, we got to do this another time, because I ain't got the energy for it today. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a good day or whatever the case may be. So I ain't got time to be entertaining what you got going on. And then, you know what I'm saying? If I'm trying to talk to you about what I got going on and you ain't getting it, I don't care who you are. I just ain't got time to be explaining all this to you.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. So, King, man, I tell each of y'all, the queens and the king on here with me, man. Listen, man, live your life the best the way you know how. If it doesn't bring you peace of mind, then it don't need to be involved with you. That part. Hashtag that. Big fact.
Yep.
Right. And so the next question is going to be the last question. Man, listen. How do you address the toxic church folk that sit in the congregation and only judge people?
Not the church. Can I say I let the church go a long time ago? Like the church got toxic for me when I was 13. And
I understand.
I'm not saying that there's not good in church, because whenever I go to church, I definitely feel his presence there. But it's a lot, I would say the majority of these congregations that need a lot of help, because the pastor need a lot of help. And that's why I say half of the preachers that you got nowadays have not went on the spiritual journey that they supposed to get to where they supposed to be. And then they're leading the flock, and it's the blind leading the blind. So you got people that's preying on people's love of God instead of, you got a lot of people opening up churches for money instead of for salvation. And that right there has always made my skin crawl when I go to a church that's too big and too elaborate, and then you see some of that congregation. Can't nobody go to school. You can't help nobody when their house is burnt down. We don't have no black banks. Like the churches should be the precipice in the beginning of these things, and they have not been. So that lets you know they're not in the right place. Okay, because there are no foundations, and the church just I'm sorry, and I hate to be that person. I don't have nothing against church like that. And my pastor, God rest his soul, I loved him. He got me to the place of understanding spirituality. But religion, indoctrinated religion, was toxic for me. So that's one thing I threw in the trash early on. And I have a covenant with God that I uphear in my own home, in my own head, so church got toxic for me at 13 when somebody basically told me, one of the sisters in the church, God rest her soul too, she turned around and she told me, God don't like little girls who wear pants to church. Now, mind you, I didn't know I was coming to church that day, but that hurt my feelings, because as a little girl, you don't know, what I'm saying? I'm looking at this lady and I think that she's very godly, and I'm like, so God don't like me for wearing pants? And that just felt wrong to me, because why wouldn't God want me to show up just as I am, as a child?
And yet in the Bible it says come as you are.
Correct.
Right.
And with all of the other things that people got going on, with all of the other sins going on, you telling me that God gonna pick me apart because my mama put me in some pants? He knowing full well I don't dress myself. You want me to believe if that's your God, then that ain't the same God that I talk to every night. He's not the one that's been so nice and so kind and so loving to me up until this point. He ain't never told me not to wear no pants to church. So at that point, I lost my interest in what we call the brick and mortar church house. And then not to mention all of the preachers in my inbox. We won't talk about that.
We're
not gonna talk about pastors.
Don't get me started on the pastors.
Okay. Sure.
They always try it.
Terrible. Oh, look, can we erase this part?
No, we can't. No, we can't.
Seriously.
We is going to talk about this tonight.
If I could talk about my experience with organized religion, it started with Catholicism and going to Catholic school. And then my mother studying to be a Jehovah's Witness. And that was like the mainstay. So that was a complete switch. There were no holidays. And it's such a rigorous way of life. And as a child, I experienced it under the rules, right? But as an adult, I saw what adults were really about that were Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was like, oh, y'all are nasty and such. You know what I'm saying? As I'm watching the debauchery go on around me. So I sought out different religions from, Protestant. I've attended so many different types of churches, temples, even Kabbalah, places that practice Buddhism. I have no affinity toward organized religion, with the exception of like probably Buddhism or Kabbalah, which teaches universal law and respecting one another, and really more of like a philosophy sort of way of living. Because unfortunately, I feel like, and this goes back to slavery as well, which we can go very deep into this, the Bible has been used, for abuse and for manipulation. And we could take it back to slavery, and it still happens now within the realms of the church. And that's how even, we have the Catholic Church that has all of these issues with sexual abuse. It goes so deep, but the manipulation can be very real. And I feel like not everybody is there to have a relationship with God so much as they are to judge who you are, what you're doing, and how you should be, but they're actually leading a double life. So there's a lot of hypocrisy going on in organized religion. For those that can find the value and the love from it, there's certainly great churches and great communities that exist, but it's just not all of them, unfortunately. And then you've even got like religion against religion. Everyone thinks that they're the chosen people. They're the one. And it's like, can't we all be chosen? Can't we all follow the rules and the golden rule and not sin? And can't we all be chosen? Or does it really have to be you versus me? Religion and politics is the basis for war all over the world.
Right.
And there's a reason for that.
Right. And this is what I'm going to say about that right there. We all know that the court system doesn't like brown and black people. Correct?
Correct.
So if you look at the laws of the court system and you go back and read some scriptures in the Old Testament, when they talk about slaughtering people in the court system is nothing but giving a black person 200-300 years, put them in electric chair. It's the same thing as they did in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see a black man go in the courtroom and I see the judge up there, with that deceitful look on his face, I say, here we go. Let's go Pharaoh again. There ain't nobody but Pharaoh. So, with that being said, and when it comes to these pastors in church, and don't get me wrong, I got some homeboys that's some great pastors. I'm talking about do stuff for the community. And I got one, even shout out to Eric Morton, man. I got one that even he gonna rock his Air Max, his jeans, and his t-shirt, and he preach just like that, man. Cause he trying to get the youth. He trying to get the youth to come in so he can share with them, so he can see what's on their mind. Because how can you reach the youth in our society if you can't bring yourself this down to the level to really listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that being said, I know pastors, who did some things when you under the clergy, you under that cloth of God that you ain't supposed to do. Like you can't be the pastor and be sleeping with the women that's singing in the choir. You can't be the pastor's wife and you and the deacon and had a church affair for 20 years. People just think y'all tight, yeah, but y'all tight, all right.
We're
Y'all
tight. We're tight.
Yeah, you tight. And so, my thing is, if you're gonna lead by example,
Right.
I'm not gonna be the one to say that there's not any good pastors, there's not any good apostles, there's not good evangelists, because there's some great ones that stand on the promises of God. But at the same time, as my grandma used to say, baby boy, the good gotta suffer with the bad.
That's right.
And so, that's why I brought them church folks that say in the congregation with their little secret meeting, going to the soul food spot to eat and talk about why so and so got a new car.
Right.
I bet brother so about her that car. So that's my take on it. But y'all can go on ahead and because we almost pressed the time, so I'm gonna let everybody chime in.
Well,
I was gonna go ahead.
Well, my spiritual journey, mine's gonna be short because I visit churches and I have a church now that I visit quite often. I've always been like a loner and like never with the clique and getting into he say she say. I just when I go to church I go for God and I be in and out. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, keep it moving. That's me. So I ain't never been a part of. I don't even know what's going on. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going in life. So I can't speak on that part.
Amen to that.
Well, what I was gonna say is, didn't try to make it long, but short but long. I didn't grow up in a spiritual home, but I grew up with a lot of different religions in my home. My grandmother practiced Jehovah's Witness. My mom was a Baptist. My granddaddy was a Methodist. Had an aunt that was a Jehovah's Witness, practicing all that. So I seen all kind of words. So by the time I got old and got around my wife's family and they was real spiritual, I seen a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I was like, hold on, this is what church folk really do? So it threw me off. And then by the time I got to Florida, I went from that to seeing in Florida, it was like a lot of backbiting. And then when I came to Atlanta, the first church I got into, it was turning your back on it when you mess up. And then when I got to the next church, it was a cult situation where the pastor was all about you worshiping her and doing for her and all this other stuff. I remember one time, I'll never forget this to the day I die. She was in there, she was one of those type of churches where they do a lot of prophesying. And she said, well, God told me to go get this brand new BMW. And then she came back the next Sunday. She said, well, God changed his mind and said, I wasn't ready to get that BMW, because what it was she thought one of the other members that had money was going to put the money in the car in their name. So she changed up the whole thing of what was going on. So from there, I had all this church hurt built up inside. My last church I went to was pretty straight or whatever. But one thing I learned from all these churches was they get into these four walls and they forget about the people. If you remember Jesus, and in the Bible, Jesus was about the people. He wasn't about them four walls. You know what I'm saying? He was about the people. He was out there with those people trying to save lives to the people that was, like he said, the way you treat my least one is how you treat me. So if you treat my least one bad, you treating me bad. So like I'm the type of person, when I give, I don't care if it's a drunk on the side of the road, a homeless person. I don't ask any questions. That's not my call to make. So if somebody come up to me and say, give me a couple of dollars, or you got some change, brother, I give it to them. You got to deal with the other side of what you're doing if you're trying to scam me. Cool. All I do is bless people the way that I see that if I have the blessing to do it. If I pay my blessing can come from you paying your Uber driver extra money, your waitress extra money, whatever it is. That's the way I bless the world before I even want to bless a church sometimes, because I don't know where that money going to and what's it for, because you can put money in dry ground. And I learned this years ago, if you tithing on dry ground, ain't no blessing coming from that. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you got to know where you putting your money at too, whatever or your time. You know what I'm saying? Your time you giving to tithing, and if you're not tithing, and if you're not giving yourself to the right cause, you just wasting your time. It's like being in a bad relationship with a man or a woman. You just wasting your time. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So at the end of the day, and when it comes to those type of toxic relationships, I look for because I remember the last church I went to, and I'm gonna be done with it. I remember I used to be in another church where we used to do street ministry in Atlanta. We used to go like Bankhead and all the worst places in Atlanta to feed the homeless and talk to them and all that kind of stuff, good stuff. Went to the last church and we talked about doing that. They looked at us like, so how do y'all do that? What is that? What you mean? Y'all been preachers all this time for 20, 30 years and y'all know what it is to go on them streets? And then they want to pick the most safest place to go to. I said, no, you got to go to the other side. These people over here, they good. These folks over here, these drunks, these alcoholics, these crackheads, all these people over here, that's where we need to go. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, think about people don't realize with poor people, I don't care what neighborhood you in, they see that you trying to come to help. They ain't trying to hurt you. And if you really believe in God the way you say you do, God gonna cover you either way.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So let me see let me see where your faith really is. If you really want to prove me something.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. You know what, man?
There it is.
Well. All I can say is about this podcast episode tonight. Live, raw, very uncut, very informative, very educational. We talked about spiritual identity. We talked about toxic people of all type of shapes and sizes and forms and different levels of the toxic people and what they go through, and they don't understand that they are toxic. I just want to say, man, I'm honored to have y'all on with me tonight. I really thank all y'all, this is a blessed network. And so what I want now is everybody to give their social media, and then we'll close out.
Well, I have Icon E19 on Instagram, and I also have official 910 Sports, because I have a sports podcast I'm gonna be doing also on my website, on my radio station, www.cogradio.net. So please follow me. Please support me on that radio station. I just got it going like 2-3 months ago. And if you want a platform to put if you want to do a podcast, radio, whatever you want to do, hit me up. You know what I'm saying? I'll put you on there, and you have another platform. I'm trying to build this thing from the ground up. So I need like-minded people to help me out as much as possible to get that thing rolling and get it to that next level. So that's what I got going on with that on my end. Okay. And follow my sons at on Spotify. They've got an album out right now called Dove 3 is the name of the group. It's an R&B hip hop group. They got a new album called Toxic. So please follow these young men, because they definitely the next big thing that's popping.
Wow. Well, my social media is my Facebook, Dayna Allen, DaynaAllen, and my Instagram _Dayna Dane, DaynaDane_. And I am a gospel recording artist. I'm an event planner. I'm an entrepreneur. I just love helping people. I'm grateful to be on this platform. This is actually my first time on a podcast ever. So I thank you for allowing me to come on and express what I have on the inside of me. And I thank you, ladies, for the jewels, and King, I thank you for your jewels as well.
That's right.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
So you guys can find me at Qiana the Goddess on all social media, and also at VPR_radio, which is our live radio show and podcast, myself and DJ FMI, live every Thursday. We've been on hiatus through July, but we're going to be getting back in the studio on Thursday. So Eddie, I would love to connect with you to speak further. Maybe we can do some sort of syndication. You know, we're always looking for partnerships.
Okay.
And as a publicist and professional writer and marketer, you can visit my website at www.goddessmedianyc.com. And that's it.
Hey, before we let Queen go, hey, Eddie, I just want to
Yes.
tell you one thing. I just want to tell you one thing about me, cause we just getting, acquainted. But Queen Portia tell you, I know everybody and their mom in this business.
Okay.
You better believe that. You better believe that.
Okay.
So I'm blessed to have. I'm out of a little small town called Saluda, South Carolina, but I lived in DC for 12 years and Miami for 6.
Okay, because I'm in North Carolina, right? That's where I'm from. I'm from Southern Pines, but I live in Lillington, which so we might not be that far from each other.
Okay, yeah, we'll link. So, Queen,
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and let you give your handle and drop them jewels and just tell everybody what you do, man, because you do so much.
Yeah, I'm the CEO and founder of Constant Kudos with an artist development and small business solutions company. So if you're starting a business and you need guidance, I'm a great business coach. If you're a musician and you need your EPKs, your videos, your studio time, all of that, I'm super great for all of that. I am a musician myself. As a FemC, you may know me as Portia C. As a R&B artist, I'm Persephone the Vibe. You can catch me on all social media platforms at Xena Fan Forever. That's letter X, number 4. You can also catch me on Facebook, Portia Crawford or Portia C if you're looking for music. I do not do gospel though, sis. I've had 2 gospel groups and I love it. I'm telling you, I think gospel music is the answer. Like you say, people are looking for the youth. The youth follow the music. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's tremendous. I done already added all of you, except for Mr. Jones. I got to get his information. We do have a podcast that we are working on that we will need a platform for. So, I'd love to work with you, the goddess Qiana. I would love to work with you, Mr. Jones. And as Jacob has said, I haven't met somebody yet in the industry that don't know Jacob, or that he don't know, or that he hasn't dealt with. So this man is a very, very blessed man, a very spiritual man, and his spirituality has carried him far in this industry. So big ups to you for this platform, and thank you as always for having me.
Yes, ma'am. My
Absolutely.
king,
We
my
salute
queen.
you.
What'd you say, sweetie?
I said we salute you. Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm glad everybody got each other handled, and so we can all network. And King Jones, I'll be in touch. And I actually think, man, that we should actually do something like this on your platform, NYC, and also on your platform, King Jones. So I think this is good for a lot of platforms because with great. Okay, say less.
Yeah,
say less. So
I think I'm booking October right now, so I can throw dates around. You get me everybody's email, and we'll definitely sort it out, make it happen. Because I love this. I love having a panel of intellectual, elevated people that really bring a lot of experience and knowledge to the table, and we can speak openly and freely. And it's a non-judgmental, just open educational atmosphere. That's my sort of vibe. You know what I mean?
Okay. Not a problem. So we tune in next week, and we're gonna talk about what a man wants from a woman. Stay tuned.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, you guys. It was a pleasure.
Same
All right.
Appreciate
Peace and blessings.
Have a blessed night, you guys.
You too. All y'all too. God